Welcome to Play On Gamers, the video game podcast that's starting here. This is episode 1 with myself, Yariv, Wolok, and my partner in crime and buddy, longtime friend, Ben Silverman. Ben, what's up, buddy? How you doing?
What's going on, man? Not too much. Finally getting around to doing this after how many years we've been talking about this? 10 years?
We've probably been talking about it for a decade. We had one podcast that lasted about 3 episodes years and years ago, and now we're doing it. And for those who are not aware, I do another podcast on the side for professional hockey, covering the Philadelphia Flyers. So learned a lot there. And then Ben and I were talking, and we're like, let's do video games. We both love video games still. We both are heavily into them. You know, as you can see Last of Us kind of playing in the background there. And we're both of us have kind of the latest tech on almost everything. So it's easy for us to keep up with, kind of gaming, So it's tough for other people. But a little background on myself. I work in tech and then run stuff on the side. Ben, I don't know if you can tell people exactly what you do, but I
work in IT.
Let's say that, yes. Yeah. So we're both tech heavy people. I have a home-built PC. I got a PS5. I have a Switch. I had an Xbox. Got rid of it because there's no point with PC gaming. Try to keep everything, right? What do you have as well?
PC, Switch, and like you said, no reason to have an Xbox right now.
Yeah, none. Not really.
When Horizon Forbidden West comes out, I might go back to PS4 or PS5.
Yeah. Good luck finding one. I'll have to help you. We'll have to go.
Just like you did with the video card.
Yeah. I still can't believe, for those who are not aware, somehow in the midst of the launch of the 3070s, I found 2 of them.
On a random, on what, CDW.com or something? Yeah.
Adorama.
Yeah. And
dude, I actually just sold my 1060. My Zotac 1060. Well, one, I made a profit on it after using it for 5+ years. And then because of the market. And the guys are like, you have a 3070? They're like, how much you pay for it? I was like, the cost.
Retail price.
Yeah, they're like, what? I was like, yeah, I bought 2 of them. They looked at me like I had 2 heads. I was like,
yeah, that would not happen right now.
No, man, we got so lucky. I was like a gift from God.
I got lucky.
Yeah, well,
you were scouring the internet,
Yeah, but to be honest with you, I wanted to repay you, and I was also searching for a PS5, and Ben didn't really care that much. And you just sent me that little message, hey, dude, you should check your email. You might be in line for a PS5. I had no idea Sony was even doing that. That was beautiful.
Apparently, it was more limited than I realized. It was an invite only, certain group of people. I guess you're a big deal in Sony circles.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I signed up day 1 for one because I was like, I'm buying it immediately.
Right.
So that's probably what happened. I was probably at the top of the queue, to be honest. Yeah. Everything comes full circle, dude. We got lucky.
All right. Xbox talked shit about their queue system, and then they screwed up their launch. So
yeah. Well, to be honest with you, it was such a screwed up time. It's like I forgive them all, honestly. Oh. We didn't mention we also have VR. Both of us have an Oculus. I think you have Quest 1.
Quest Original. Quest 1. I recently got rid of my Rift.
Oh, you sold it? I'm trying to sell mine right now.
I did finally sell it. People don't seem to want the Rift for whatever reason.
Yeah. I'm trying to sell it right now. One guy, I had a couple bites on it, but hopefully
everyone thinks
I sell
it's the Quest.
Yeah.
Are you getting people messaging you, asking you how many gigabytes it is?
Yeah, I got a guy asking me if it was the newer Rift. What's the other model? The S. Oh my God. Yeah, the S. Thank you. So I'll probably sell it, but I have to lower the price probably.
Yeah.
Whatever. I'm in no rush. All right, so let's get into it. We actually have a lot of topics because Ben and I
we started on the right week.
Yeah. No. Oh, that's actually true. This is a ridiculous time for gaming, and I guess today, as we record this, today was the PlayStation State of Play. That is the big news from today. And overall, there was no State of Play. Let's be honest. It was the Horizon show, and they showed off Forbidden West, which, don't get me wrong, I am excited about. I actually never beat the original. I'm so close. I played it twice and got to the same part, which is probably 5 to 10 hours before it ends. And I don't know why I haven't finished it, but I probably will soon. So it's a little I guess, annoying that I haven't finished it. So I need to finish that game soon before the new one comes out. But they had a trailer, came out. I would say it was gorgeous, and I enjoyed it. But Ben, let's hear your reactions first.
Yeah, first thoughts were, there's no way this is running at 60 frames per second on a PS5. That was my first thought because it just looks spectacular.
Yes.
HDR, 4K, they are not hitting 60 frames per second.
Probably not.
Gameplay looks very similar. Looks indistinguishable from Horizon Zero Dawn if you were to show it to me. But that's not a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
The mechanics in the game are great. The story was great. Just more of that in a different setting. It looks like San Fran.
Yeah.
So should be interesting. What part did you get to in Horizon? Do you remember?
Found the mother. Oh, probably spoiler alert. Found out the mother part. Like her origins, and then I think it was like, oh man, I haven't played it for a while too. I've been meaning to finish it. And it was kind of like, I think I'm probably right near the end, to be honest with you.
Right. Yeah. So I thought it was at the end of it a couple times. That's actually the game I most recently finished.
Okay.
For PC.
PC, right.
Great story. Not really surprising.
The ending?
Was able to predict where it was going.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means I watched too much science fiction. But yeah, game looks gorgeous.
No, but the reason I didn't finish it now I'm thinking about it is it came out when Breath of the Wild came out.
Okay.
And I was playing that, and then Breath of the Wild came in, which, by the way, I didn't finish either. I put literally 250 hours in that game and didn't finish it. So, yeah, I have a problem.
Did you see they basically put the paraglider from Breath of the Wild in this game?
Which I will say definitely needed. And I actually thought that was really smart because there's so much scaling in the game that glider, I mean, obviously Nintendo does it again. They just come with a simple evolution or a simple mechanic, and everybody just adapts it. Yeah. It makes too much sense.
Especially in a game like this, that's so vertical, like you said. And it doesn't look like they're going full Breath of the Wild with climbing on any surface.
Right.
But you definitely seems to be more opportunities for, a height advantage. As in the last game, where there were specific paths you would take to get up higher. But
yeah, that's actually a really good point. I guess it's more freedom, and then even with underwater, right? They have unlimited breathing with going Subnautica, with going nautical, right? Going underneath the water. Yeah. So it looks like it's going to be a deeper game. I actually expect Breath of the Wild to do that as well, in Breath of the Wild 2. But it looks like they're going to take advantage of underwater, which I imagine for the type of game that it is, there probably going to be some underwater exploration where maybe you're going to be discovering another layer of this world.
Yeah,
that's going to be, yeah. So what did you think it was running at? Did you think it was running at like 40 frames a second, 30 frames?
I think it's going to be 4K 30.
Yeah. Can PS5 even do 60 frames of 4K?
It can. Depending on the game. I think Last of Us 2 with the new patch is 60 frames 4K.
Right. But it is limited to some degree. Was it oh my god, what's that tech why is the name escaping me right now?
What, checkerboard?
With the beautiful reflections. Why is this escaping?
Ray tracing?
Ray tracing, thank you. Well, I think with ray tracing enabled, like they can't hit 60 frames right at this point.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
It would be tough on a PC.
Yeah.
With ray tracing on it. That's taxing on a system.
Yeah.
But hopefully they'll include like a performance mode or a graphics mode, like God of War, like a lot of the games are doing these days.
Yeah.
Where you can decide whether you want frame rate or you want quality.
Is it bad that I don't like? I feel like I should care about frame rate more than I do, even still now.
You should. It is bad. You should always care about frame rate.
I still prefer I want to play with ray tracing over 60 frames.
No, I will turn this thing down to potato quality, and make it look like I'm watching through Vaseline before I run it anything less than 60.
Well, I mean, to your point, I was replaying God of War, which I love God of War, and that game I definitely finished. And playing that game in 60 frames for a game with like tight mechanics like that, and Horizons like that too, I see the advantage. You know what I mean? It's just such a beautiful spectacle, though. It's hard for me to want to reduce that.
I get that, but if I were to show you a game at 2K and 4K, how much of a difference would you be able to see? But if I showed you a game at 30 frames or 60 or 90 or 120, it would be immediately obvious. You may not know exactly what's different, but you would know something right away.
To be honest with you, well, I see the difference. I can see the difference in the 4K. I mean, I have a pretty good eye. I work in design as well, so I actually have an eye for it. That's kind of why I'm like, oh, I would just want it to be super pretty. You know,
it might also be a fact I don't have a 4K monitor, so I don't.
Well,
I run a 1440p.
Wait, you don't have a 4K? Oh,
no,
right.
I run a 1440p, 144 hertz G-Sync.
Okay.
And
right, you have a G-Sync.
Yeah, I just I don't. My TV's 4K, but I don't have any systems hooked up to the TV. I mostly game. Even when I have a console, I'll hook it up to my monitor. I like to be closer in. Rather than sitting back when I game.
I actually wanted to get a new monitor because I do have a 4K Samsung, but it's not really designed for gaming.
Most TVs aren't. You have to have
a monitor.
Model. Oh, monitor.
I have a monitor. I have a 4K monitor. I do have the 4K HDR Sony over there, but the monitor, if you can see right there, that's Samsung over there. That is a 4K screen, but now that I got the 3070, I'm like, maybe it's time to upgrade.
Yeah, I mean, even with the 3070, gaming at 4K is still tough.
Yeah. Well, that's why you get the G-Sync, right? That probably helps.
G-Sync will help with extreme variations in frame rate, or if your frame rate is way too high. So if your refresh rate is 144 hertz and your game is running at like 200 frames per second, you're gonna notice some tearing, or
it'll fill the gaps.
If it drops really low, it'll match your game to your refresh rate to prevent screen tearing. So the top of your screen is not getting drawn before the bottom half of your screen is finished drawing its frame, which is how you get screen tearing.
Okay. All right, that makes sense.
Goes in a line.
Well, you'll have to help me because I'll probably be shopping for a monitor. Now I want one. See, that's the problem. I buy all this tech shit and then I don't I have the VR and I bought the Walking Dead game and I have not played it since.
Saints and Sinners yet?
I played it for like an hour.
Oh man.
I know, and it's so good too.
We'll get to VR, but
I know. Yeah, we'll get to it. All right. Let's stay on PlayStation. All right. So
Horizon. The other thing that hit me.
Go ahead.
Hair physics. Hair physics.
Incredible.
Do you remember like 2009 Tomb Raider? They were talking about the hair.
Yeah.
It was a revolutionary.
Yeah.
I remember it tanked. It was a great game, but it tanked my frame rate. Having the hair effects on brought me down to like 9 frames per second. But if you watch about 5 minutes into this trailer, when she jumps into the water, they're doing this. They're doing the same things they talked about with Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
It was immediately noticeable to me.
Yeah, and it's crazy because this is if you really think about it, this is like a launch title for PS5 essentially. That's why I think of it, because I feel like the console came out a little bit early, and you look at where the graphics are now with Horizon. Can you imagine in 5 years what this is going to look like? It's really impressive. I'd say the game looks absolutely stunning. And that was a live stream over my iPad. You know what I mean? Yeah. I can't even imagine what it's going to look like. Do you think it's going to come out for PC quickly? No. Or do you think they're going to wait? No, they're going to wait, right?
Yeah, they're not going to do that.
But they will. They will bring it to PC.
Eventually, they will.
Maybe a year.
But the original came 3 years later, 2 years later. Despite people having difficulty getting PS5s, there are more PS5s in people's hands right now than there were PS4s at the same time in its life. So there are consoles out there. They're making games. They're not going to want to cannibalize the sales.
I honestly, and a lot of people have been complaining about that. I am in the complete minority where I don't think Sony cares at all that it's a problem to find them. I think they're actually pretty happy with that because it keeps demand up and it just keeps the chase going. And they're not doing it on purpose. So in their mind, they're like, this is great.
If Sony can make more PS5s, they'd be making more PS5s. Xbox make more Xbox, they'd be doing that. If Samsung could
Yes.
buy their chips for not a 300% markup right now, they'd be doing that too.
Yeah.
It's just things, the way supply chains are right now, and the material shortages and everything.
It's
a
very
trickle
real.
down from COVID. It's affecting the prices of everything.
It's very real, and I can
From
tell you, even for the corporation that I work for, I mean, we have a contract with Lenovo, we have a contract with Dell, IBM. We are short on everything. I mean,
nobody can get
yeah.
parts.
We're about to go to Best Buy and again, I work for a Fortune 50 company. We're about to go to Best Buy and just buy their inventory, at a loss.
It's everything from silicon chips down to stone and wood and lumber. It's nuts right now.
It'll catch up though, and
it's going to be a while. It's going to be a while.
It's going to be at least 12 months from what I understand.
With everyone working from home and realizing they don't actually ever have to interact with each other.
Yeah,
everyone's. It's just.
I was already doing that, so for me, this is just business as usual.
I was not.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the real world, my friend.
Yes.
Where you don't see anybody.
World. Yes.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next topic. We got Uncharted 4 coming to PC, according to IGN. That was just leaked today. This isn't that big of a surprise, especially both of us are fans of Last Stand Media, and obviously, we listened to I know it's been hinted around, but Colin Moriarty was already mentioning this, that they kind of suspected there were going to be more games coming, and Uncharted could definitely be the next one. I liked Uncharted 4 a lot. I thought it was a great game, but I will say it has that lull in the middle that I thought a little boring. But maybe I'll play it again, as it leads to PC. But I don't really have a reason to play it on PC. I would just play it on console personally. Right. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, anytime anything comes to PC, I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah.
Article by Matt Kim on IGN. He posted in a presentation released ahead of Sony's Investor Relations Day. A slide lists Uncharted 4 under a section that reads more PC releases planned. It sits alongside Days Gone, which was released on PC earlier this month. So if you look at this slide presentation, they say they got a 250% return on investment on Horizon Zero Dawn coming to PC.
Sick.
Days Gone's coming out. And there were rumors that Epic was trying to purchase exclusives from Sony to be on their game store, and Horizon and Days Gone were two of the games they were trying. So it also makes sense they were probably trying to purchase Uncharted, and you can see why. PC gamers, they want exclusives. So anytime Sony exclusives come to PC, it's a good day.
Yeah, man, and these games in particular, like these are console sellers, like Horizon, maybe not Days Gone, even though I don't think Days Gone had a very fair shake. My attitude when it first came out. I was telling you, I was like, dude, this is a good game. Yeah. Like these review scores do not reflect this game at all. And yes, it was probably just released too early. But for the most part, it makes sense that they're selling this much. I love those numbers for Horizon because Horizon is a very good game. Even though I didn't finish it, I still, considering I had almost 2 playthroughs through it, I put, like 70, 80 hours into it, maybe probably more. It's a very good game. And PC, I would say, is not surprisingly the largest market. It's like there's a ton of money for them to be made there. And once you sell everything on the console, what do you really have to lose?
That's the thing. They've exhausted their user base with the consoles. Anybody who's going to play Uncharted 4 on PlayStation has played Uncharted 4 by now.
It's free. If you own a PS5, it's free. Same with Horizon.
So this is a good way to get it in the hands of people that weren't going to buy it anyway. For PC gamers, I'm not going to say they don't, but predominantly PC gamers play their games on PC. They maybe have a console here, a console there. You were talking about how there was a lull in the middle of Uncharted, and it seemed a little off-center. Yeah. Probably because they retooled the entire game halfway through development. And
is that Amy when Amy Hennig left, right? Yeah.
I believe it was when Amy left the team. Yes.
In the beginning or mid?
Yeah, mid, because the original villain of that game was going to be the brother.
Oh, really? And they changed that.
They changed it midway. It was too dark.
Yeah, it was a dark story for sure. For Uncharted.
If you go back and look at the original trailer, it seemed like it was going to be like Drake versus his brother to the death. All kinds of stuff.
Did you finish the game?
I did.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. It was a good story. It was a good story.
It tied everything up in a bow.
Yeah. It was an emotional story. We'll get into Last of Us a little bit also. Let me see. And what we're playing, right? Yeah, I'll talk about that later. But it was definitely a good story. I wouldn't play it on PC at this point just because I have it for PS5. So I
don't think I would go back through it either. And I played it once a long time ago. That story has been told. The gameplay was fine, but it wasn't anything that I'm missing.
See, okay, let me ask you something. So I actually like the gameplay too. It actually bothers me that it's a very surface level action RPG. Like there's no RPG elements really. And that's actually, to me, a lot of times what is the replay value.
You don't need to put RPG elements in everything. We have it in Madden. We have it in NHL. We don't. Every game doesn't need it. Sometimes a game can just be a game.
No, totally. I mean, but for replay value, like if there's no.
That is a problem with the Uncharted games.
Yeah,
and I think that's why you saw Uncharted multiplayer and Uncharted 3 is they wanted to keep the discs in people's drives.
Yeah, and it's interesting actually because I mean I guess I can mention it now, right? Last of Us is going to have off that engine. They're going to build an online game, right? Off of that, I believe is the case.
I forget what they were calling it.
Yeah, I forget too. I'll search it up, but I do think that is a good idea because. Quite frankly, you have the engine already.
So, I think Factions.
Factions, yes, that is it. Let me double check. Yeah, that's it. So I do think that it's a great idea because when you have a really good engine, you have all these assets. You can build the game within like a year and a half. You don't need 5-6 years to build it. And they've shown that they can build fun online games. The problem is a lot of times when you build these online games, you're building them to make a profit. So if they're really going to release Factions, maybe they'd make it a free to play. I don't know if that's the case, but free to play, put the
free to play shooter market is tough right now.
Yeah,
tons of options out there.
But unless you own Last of Us, are you going to buy Factions? It would have to be very cheap.
Yeah, it would.
If it's $20, I would buy it. But if it's $60, I'm not buying it.
It would depend on what it is. And you're going to release it 3 years after the game comes out?
Yeah. I don't know. It doesn't sound that enticing to me personally. But I don't really play online games. I'm like such a single player guy. I do see Last of Us coming to PC though after Uncharted. I think that's the next one you say is Last of Us. Yeah, and that's a really interesting one because that game is still really good. And they're remaking it, which to me makes no sense.
That wasn't on our list, and I don't think I have the mental bandwidth to talk about them remaking a game that's only 7 years old
and doesn't need to be remade.
And no, it got two re-releases already, patched to 60 frames,
very
4K.
Well.
It holds up. It's just fine.
Yes, it's like remaking Mario 3. You know what I mean? Like updating the engine. It's like that game still plays really well. What's the point?
I mean, remastering it maybe, but remaking it? What's the point of remaking it?
Exactly. And actually, I think that actually kind of, we'll talk about Mass Effect as well, but it kind of goes against that. I'll get to that. I'm going off topic. All right, let's go to next topic. We got Dying Light 2 live stream was today.
Yep.
There was a pretty cool trailer, but also mostly it was just a gameplay. I think there was a little bit of a trailer in the beginning or whatever, like just showing off a little bit, but for the most part it was just a gameplay trailer. You know what? Why don't you start off with your thoughts on it, and I'll respond to it.
My thoughts were that definitely looks like Dying Light. I mean, it looked exactly like it. To me, it looked almost indistinguishable from Dying Light 1. Better engine, better graphics, different location. But gameplay Dying Light 1 was great, and it looked like just more of it, which is fine. Yeah. I think the differences you're going to see in Dying Light 2 are not to be shown in an action trailer.
Correct.
Dying Light 2 seems like it's going to be a living world that reacts to your decisions and what you do and changes. And in the first trailer they showed off in E3 2019,
right, they
demonstrated that where the entire game changed based on I think it was who you gave access to a water source to. Mm-hmm. And different paths would open up, quests would open up based on which side you went with. So
are they going to have a nemesis system in it like Shadow of Mordor?
I don't think so, since they own the patent for that.
Yeah. I guess they can make a play on it though, right?
Oh, they would have to license it from WB because they
Yeah.
got the patent issued.
That's true. They have to pay
But
him.
I mean, I don't think we're going to see anything like that. I think we're going to see Dying Light 2, which is just.
I like that you said that. No, I think you're spot on. I mean, it just
It
looked
looked
like Dying Light.
It looked like Dying Light. Now, Dying Light's evolved over the years. I mean, that
That's
is a
what I was gonna
game that
say.
has been supported like crazy with the
Yes.
amount of DLC they've put out. Like they have I don't know the name of it, but it's like an Undead Hell DLC where you're
Yeah.
fighting skeletons, and I mean,
See, I played that game late. I actually just bought it this past year, and I didn't finish it either. I don't think the story is worth finishing, but I put a lot of hours into
fine.
the game.
yeah,
It's really fun. I mean, the
It's great.
mechanics alone, the parkour. I actually thought I wouldn't like it initially. Like
it
first
works
person
great.
park, it works phenomenal.
it's natural. Yeah.
And I would imagine that, like you said, I think it's gonna be a refined version of that with better graphics. But I am very much interested in the open. Like that's where I think the game can excel the most. It looks like obviously they're putting more into the story, but it really is about the world itself. Like the parkour element speaks to that, right? The fact you can interact with all these things in a different way. You really want to be in there. And you really want to be able to alter the world itself. And I think that is where the replay value is in that game, is just to literally make the world yours.
Yeah, I just hopefully they give me a world I give a shit about.
Yeah.
Because
I didn't care about the first one.
The first one
The
was
story.
it was just whatever fill in the blank third world country that is gone to shit and you're running around in. And
Yeah. I didn't want to save anybody.
No, I didn't really care.
Yeah, I don't care if anybody dies.
I wanted to put a battery on my machete so I could electrocute somebody when
Yeah.
I chopped them in half. So
Yeah, like I felt like it was all about the grind of the weapons. And I would actually say that game does a great job in like making, the weapon system where like they break and you have to upgrade them and stuff.
Yeah.
But I will say at a certain point, it becomes more about managing inventory. And I really
True.
wish that some of these games find a way to kind of like, I don't want to just build up weapons all the time. Like there has to be an option where like I get to use all these weapons and maybe there's one weapon that doesn't break and maybe it's weaker. Like it's something Breath of the
Master
Wild
Sword.
did. Yeah, like Breath of the Wild did that, but it drove me nuts that Breath of the Wild's Master Sword would break anyway. Like I thought when I got the Master Sword, I was like, okay, that element is now in the past. But it was like, no, this one breaks too and regenerates.
yeah.
But I find that stuff annoying after a while. It's like I did it for 100 hours. Like after a
Yeah.
while, I'm like, I'm good.
We'll get into that also when we get to Mass Effect 1.
Okay. Yeah. I have complaints about Mass Effect 1, but it also in a different way.
Dying Light
Alright,
looks great. I hope it's slated to come out in December of this year. December 7th, I believe they said. I think it will hit that date. Weirdly enough.
Wait, what's supposed to come out? Sorry.
December 7th, Dying Light.
Dying Light. Okay. Yeah. I thought you were saying Mass Effect. I was
It's a
like, it's already
weird
out.
it's a weird day or a weird date. You don't
December
you
7th?
December usually you don't see a lot of we saw Jedi Fallen Order in December, but that
It
was
sold well.
It did.
Fallen Order.
But it missed out on all Game of the Year contention, everything. Because
You know
it
what
was
that
so
tells
late.
me, dude? Is that they just have delays. You know what I mean? They just don't have a choice.
Well, game was supposed to be out last year,
Yeah.
so
That's probably why they're like, that's the earliest we can do, or probably the latest we can do where we're not hitting Christmas.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you're 3 weeks away from Christmas at that point?
People have done their shopping by then. I mean, I don't know. I think they should
You can
push
pre-order.
it. I think they should push it. If it's December 7th is the date, I would just push it.
Why not just put? See, I would actually.
This
You know
is-
what? I agree with you.
This is not a game you should release in the midst of everything going on. Dying Light was good, but it's not, little
I think
Timmy's not telling mom, I can't wait for Dying Light 2 to come out.
Right. And if they get that lull right after the holiday, right? That maybe February.
February.
Yeah.
February.
Because there's like almost nothing comes
So
out.
Mass
then.
Effect 3 came out in March, I believe, and it was the only thing around.
Yeah,
everyone bought
Nintendo
Mass-
did that as well with the launch of the Switch and Breath of the Wild. It definitely paid off. I wonder if that'll end up happening. Like maybe they'll still delay it.
I mean, everything gets delayed these days.
Yeah, they have an excuse now. Like now you can actually delay things because of COVID.
Yeah.
People will let you get away with it.
I think we're coming to the end of that being an excuse, though.
Yeah,
People
being
have been
patient.
working from home for over a year.
I mean, I'll tell you right now. I mean, I work in IT. I've been working from home forever. My job, better at my job working from home.
Oh.
I'm not judging these people. I think it was more the transition of people who never did it before.
Right.
But once you're at home, you shouldn't have a problem. Like, it's really not that big of a deal to work from home for this type of job. I will say that. There are other jobs that are obviously different. There are benefits always to being in person, but I would guarantee, considering most of these people are computer nerds, they don't want to go on video and work together, and that's probably a big problem for them. So it's a culture shift more than it is a technology problem, in my opinion.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if you listen to Rebel FM podcast, but Anthony Gallegos, former engineer, he works for Unknown Worlds now, who created Subnautica, which we'll get into later.
Okay.
And he said that they have no plans to ever go back to in person.
I don't want to.
Yeah.
It saves me a bunch of time and money. Actually, most of these companies should realize, and I was saying this pre-pandemic, it's like it saves me a ton of time and money. It allows me to run my businesses on the side. Like, it's a huge benefit. It's like the amount of time you save traveling home from work. A lot of these guys have crunch hours, right?
Yeah.
They never see their family.
They lose 2 hours a day traveling.
Yeah, there's your 2 hours back. Oh, and by the way, your family is in your home.
Right.
So all this crunch time now, and you're telling me like a company like Rockstar doesn't have the money to improve the home technology for each one of their employees. It's all solvable. It's just a transition into it. I agree with you. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. All right, let's go to next topic. BlizzCon 2021. Oh wait, I'm sorry. I skipped. Let's go to next topic. Bethesda, Xbox. Yeah, sorry. Confirmed joint E3 press conference 6/13. I think that's exciting in itself.
You think that's good or bad that they're combining their press conference?
I think it's two different things. It's political, for one, right? Because they're now part of Microsoft, which is a very political entity, right? So everything's got to be, we work together, we spent $8 billion, we overpaid for this company, it better be part of our press conference type of thing.
We don't know they overpaid for it yet. We'll find out.
I think they overpaid for it, for sure. And I'm just gonna be honest with you. I don't think Bethesda is that great of a game company.
Really?
I think they live off of their. Let me say this. I think they're a great game company, but to me, they're not the company that I'm waiting for to find out what's next.
Oh man, I am so personally. The opposite.
Yeah, well,
I'm glad that we got in this.
Well, you play everything they make. For the most part,
I love Bethesda games. I don't play, so I'm not an Elder Scrolls guy. I actually didn't probably put an hour into Skyrim in my life.
Yeah, I put a little bit more into that. I didn't like it.
Fallout, Wolfenstein games.
I like Fallout 3 a lot.
Fallout 3 is great. Wolfenstein. You've got
Wolfenstein's good. I like Wolfenstein too.
We got Starfield coming up. Dishonored, Prey. I mean, these are amazing
I didn't play
games.
Prey. I didn't play Prey. It's one I need to play. Actually, I wanted to pick up on CD keys. Dishonored, again, the stealth games don't do it for me.
You can do whatever you want in that game.
I didn't find that to be the case. I did play Dishonored, but it seemed like it encouraged me to be stealth. And as soon as I go, and I'm like too impatient for stealth games. Like The Last of Us is the most stealth that I can go. Like, do you see what I'm saying? That's like barely stealth. That's like stealth until you get caught.
I guess. Yeah. I mean, that you can play Dishonored that way, but they make quality games.
They do. But are they a system seller like they use, like Skyrim is, but like all the titles that you name, they're just good games.
Well, Elder Scrolls 6 is only going to sell one system, and that's an Xbox.
Yes.
I don't know if they have.
It's going to be
time
sellers. Exclusive.
It will not. I don't think so. No,
I don't know.
You don't spend $9 billion to put your shit out on another console.
What if they negotiate with Sony and say, hey, you put Xbox Game Pass on there, and we'll give you
zero chance.
We'll give you Elder Scrolls if they can play Game Pass through your
0% chance.
Yeah. That's the reason they bought it. It's one of the biggest reasons they bought it. I agree with you. And Starfield probably as well.
They bought ZeniMax because of they bought themselves 9 studios to make first party games.
Yes, because they screwed up so much in the past. They lost all of their studios because they were too controlling, and all of their big properties are now silent outside of Gears, I guess. And Halo is in trouble to some degree, I would say. But keep going on Bethesda though.
Yeah, so back to them being a joint press conference.
Yeah.
They got 9 studios, mostly RPG, Western RPG developers, first-person developers. do they not have enough to show on their own? Bethesda's done a press conference on their own every year.
Fable's not ready. Halo's in trouble.
Well, you're going to see Halo. I hope you're ready to see a metric fuck ton of Halo.
Oh, we're going to see it. But let me ask you this. Do you think Halo's coming this year? I noticed nobody talks about it. My gut instinct says no. Why haven't we seen gameplay like yet? Or heard?
We saw gameplay last year. It was
and then it got that's my point.
I think no, I don't think we see Halo this year.
I think we will see gameplay. I think you're 100% right.
I think we're gonna get. I don't know. I think we're gonna see a date. I think they're gonna date it this year, and I think it's gonna get delayed again. I think
what if they do March, like we were saying? They could. If it comes out on its own, like that is a system seller. Like Halo is a system seller,
right? But
even if it's not great,
they don't need help selling systems right now.
Correct.
They don't have systems to sell.
So then why rush it out?
Yeah. We already know Starfield's coming next year, late next year.
That might get delayed too, at the rate that Bethesda works.
I'm excited to see a lot of Starfield, but I think that it was at E3 2017. It was Bethesda's first press conference.
Yeah,
and they came out swinging. Fallout 4.
Yeah.
Shelter.
That was a great
the Wolfenstein. Trailer. Yeah, and they're like, Fallout's coming out in 3 months, and everyone went nuts.
Yeah.
They had tons to show that year, and then I guess every year since then it's been trying to. I think they had Dishonored 2 that year.
Mm-hmm. That's when they were in the top of their game and like they could do no wrong.
Well, they came out of nowhere because they weren't a player like that before.
Right.
And then after that they've had a presence, but I honestly expected them to have their own press conference, especially because they have games that are coming out in other systems. So, are you going to be showing PlayStation exclusive? Are you going to show Deathloop at the conference?
But I kind of think Microsoft doesn't care. Like, look what they do with Minecraft. Like, they don't care.
Well, Minecraft was out on all these platforms before they bought it.
But don't you think, like, just look at Microsoft's play with Windows. Like, they don't care. They want to be everywhere. They want you to see the Microsoft logo on everything. If Sony would let them put Microsoft's logo on their console, they'd be all in.
I think if Sony would let them put Game Pass on their console, it would be there.
Oh my God. That's what I think the Skyrim, like, I think that's their thing. Like, if you play it through Game Pass on PlayStation, that's how you can play Skyrim on PlayStation.
There will never be Game Pass on PlayStation.
Sony will not allow it.
There will never.
Sony will not allow
Game Pass on
it. They'll release their own version of it before they allow that.
You think we see Starfield, like an extended deep dive into Starfield?
Yeah, I think we see something. Yeah. Right, because they keep talking about leaks. I know Mr. Matty Plays brings it up like every week at this point. Yeah. It's like there's always something that comes out about it. If there are so many leaks, my guess is that we will see gameplay. But I just don't think it's going to be ready. Let me ask you this. What are you excited for it, Starfield?
I don't know what it is. I've seen the logo.
Okay, do you think it's like Fallout 4 in space?
I hope they don't do that. That would be awesome, but I hope they don't do that.
Why do you hope they don't do that?
Because they got to do something else. They had Elder Scrolls, and then they had Elder Scrolls with laser guns, which was Fallout.
Well, I mean, you look at Outworld or Outer Worlds.
The Outer Worlds, yeah.
Outer Worlds
and Outer Worlds, yeah. Outer Worlds,
yeah.
Outer Worlds is fine, and Microsoft now owns that studio too, so they can make a sequel for Xbox. They don't need Bethesda to do that.
Yeah.
I think it will be closer to a Star Citizen than.
Really? So you mean more like galactic?
Yeah, open
colonies,
open universe, flying a ship around.
They are good at RPGs. Systems.
Do you ever play a game called Freelancer back in the day?
No, but it's definitely something you would play.
I think it will be similar to a game called Freelancer. And you had a ship, you flew from planet system to system, buying, trading, upgrading your ship, a lot of combat. It was awesome. It was ahead of its time. And I think that's what you're going to see, a modern take on Freelancer.
Maybe a little bit of Mass Effect mix in there, like kind of jumping from
Yeah,
star system to
if they
star
go
system.
if they go hardcore into like narrative, yes. I don't know if they're going to
That'd be
go
cool.
into narrative. I don't know.
I, I will say this: if that is the game, well, I guess at that point it sounds like there'll be maybe even a multiplayer element to it
There will
potentially,
definitely be
like
some
online
sort of
co-op,
yeah,
right?
or an MMO of some sort,
True, because they're gonna want to make money off
like a
this
No Man's
thing.
Sky.
Yeah,
Well, how No Man's Sky is now, at least.
yeah, yeah, and that took a while to build too. That took like
Years.
10 years
Well,
to get
10
to the
years. It
point.
was a long time.
I mean, it feels like 10 years, right? It was the launch of PS4.
I think it feels like 10
What?
years.
That is 10 years.
Was it
Is
a
it?
PS4 launch title?
Oh, I mean, they announced it for launch,
Let's
didn't
fact
they?
check this.
Yeah. Okay, that almost be almost 10 years, Ben. It's got to be 8 years, right? Because even the PS5 has been out for a year already. It's only 5. Oh my god, it feels like 10 years. Well, they did it. Well, they were developing prior to that. That's what I'm saying. So you got to figure they developed it probably for 3 years prior to that. So you're talking about 8 years of development.
Well, the game is. We're not getting No Man's Sky, but No Man's Sky can be a topic for another day. That we played that in VR for a little bit.
Yeah, it's awesome. That game sold me in VR. That game is just ripe for VR. All right, but so, I do want to say this. Do you think? And I don't think this is coming out soon at all. But my biggest thing that I'm waiting for, honestly, from Microsoft is Fable. Like that is the franchise that I'm dying for a return.
I think we see Fable.
You think we see gameplay?
I think we see gameplay. No, we saw like a teaser last time. We saw the logo.
What's that studio? And the name's escaping. They make Forza.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look it up right now.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
It's in the Forza engine. They're using the Forza engine to make the game, which I
think that is one of the. Yeah, I think it's one of the smartest moves that Microsoft has made is to tap on one of their best studios, Playground Games. That's it. Okay. To tap on Playground and to bring back a property that, quite frankly, started off on such a high level when Peter Molyneux was obviously involved and on top of his game. That was my Xbox. For me personally, that was my Xbox game. It was like that, and then obviously Mass Effect started. I liked Halo, and Gears was obviously really awesome. But for me, it was always Fable, and it completely dropped off the planet. If they can make that a legitimate RPG and go with that evolving world dynamic, and this studio is even better than the studio that made Fable, in my opinion, than Lionhead Studio, right? In my opinion, they have the ability to take this franchise to the next level if they do it. Even that initial trailer was beautiful. There's just nothing in it.
I mean, it's CG. I mean, they're a great studio, but they've done one thing for 15 years, 10 years, however long they've been doing it.
But is that really an issue? Like,
I think so.
I mean, look at Horizon.
I mean,
it's Killzone, right?
Yeah, they Killzone, but they still made shooters or some sort of shooter or a narrative game, and they did branch out to another genre. But this is racing.
I have a feeling, they're going to
hardcore RPG.
I really think that I truly believe, because of how good Forza is as a property and how consistent it is, like I really believe that they're going to hit a home run with this.
I mean, it's 100% possible and maybe even probable. I mean, you see, No Man's Sky at Hello Games, right? Yeah, Hello Games. Before that, they're Beautiful Joe, and then all of a sudden they're making No Man's Sky. That was the game before that. So
it was a rough launch, though. In fairness.
Well, that was Sony's fault. Sony overhyped the game
by far.
Yeah. So as long as you don't, as long as it's not a Peter Molyneux situation, you'll plant a seed, and then in Fable 2, the tree will be there, and it'll be your friend, and it's just as long as they don't go too crazy with that. And they keep it realistic or expectations realistic. I think Fable could be the next great RPG on Xbox.
Yes, and and I know it's not going to be exclusive to Xbox, so I'm probably never going to buy an Xbox with a gaming PC.
Well, it'll be on PC.
Yeah. There's no reason for me to personally, just because I have a 3070. But if you're not a PC gamer, that is a console seller, in my opinion, to some degree. Yeah. I mean, you look at that is something PlayStation should be nervous about, in my opinion.
Well, Xbox doesn't care or Microsoft don't care if you own an Xbox. They care if you subscribe to Game Pass.
Right.
That's all they care about.
They care about their brand, right? And they know, like, if I can get I don't even have Game Pass, but if I can play Fable for $1, right, to finally sign up for it, right, they have like that free month or whatever. That'll be the one that gets me.
I had Game Pass for a long time. Game streaming. It's even if you don't have an Xbox and you have a phone, you don't have a PC, you don't have an Xbox, you have a phone or an iPad, you can play Halo.
Yeah, Microsoft computer. Yeah,
anything.
It's honestly a brilliant strategy, in my opinion.
I think you'll see a lot of Game Pass. I think you might see a big Game Pass announcement at E3. I think maybe we'll do an E3 prediction show next week.
Okay,
but
that's a good call.
I think, I don't want to spoil too many of my predictions, but I think we will see a major Game Pass announcement at E3 from Microsoft.
In what capacity do you mean? Like a game that's coming to it, or a few games?
I'm thinking
update to the program.
Like, if we want to go crazy, partnership with Samsung.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Put it on TVs.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Like
that's a really interesting. Yeah, that's a really interesting idea. So you could just use maybe find an integration with their controller too.
Yes, if you like Samsung and Xbox, they've gotten a bed together. If you look at the Galaxy Tab S7, which is an Android tablet that I purchased, Phil Spencer was on stage with them when they announced it, and they had a big Game Pass partnership.
Yeah.
So they're already in bed a little bit. And Samsung makes a lot of shit.
Yeah, it's a great point. Actually, when I was working at Comcast, and I was working on the innovation team there, I was working with this guy named Will McMaster, who's actually from Microsoft Studios initially. So was the chief product officer, Chris Satchel. He was also from the Xbox team. But I remember I got hooked up with Will McMaster, and I was saying like, hey, we should be leveraging the tech inside of the TVs. I brought that up a few years ago. I'm like, it already has enough power. Like, if we just add an additional device, as Comcast at the time, we were like, hey, I don't work for Comcast now, just so everybody's aware. At the time, we can.
My thoughts are my own. My tweets are my own.
Right. Yeah. They're like, we can leverage the hardware. I remember he's like, oh, that's actually really smart. This guy was in charge of machine learning, right? So, like, you got to figure that they're probably thinking something like that at this point, where they probably are looking to leverage stuff with streaming. It's so much easier to do that now.
Yeah, I think streaming is the future of gaming, I think, and not necessarily
replacing.
It's better. It's clearly not better.
Yeah,
but to get that game into the hands of millions of people that otherwise wouldn't
buy a console.
Yeah, or can't buy a console, can't get their hands on a console. You live somewhere like Brazil, where the tariffs on technology are insane. I don't have the exact conversion, so I'm just gonna throw some bullshit numbers out there, but something like 3 or 4 times the price to buy like a PlayStation, Xbox, and that's not scalper's price. That's like importing.
Absolutely.
And a lot of that shit's made down there, and you still got to pay that price.
Yeah,
I think Xbox was. Well, maybe I shouldn't say that because I'm not sure. I thought Xbox may have been produced in Brazil for a little bit, but
I can tell you, I'm Israeli, right? When I go to Israel, like the consoles are more expensive there.
That's MSRP. That's not people scalping. That's just what they sell them for.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. We definitely have a luxury here in the United States for sure.
So if you're in a country like that, and for $1 on your cell phone that you already have, you can play Halo Master Chief Collection, or you can play Starfield. You're right. It's dangerous stuff that Microsoft can do here with the amount of money they have in their tech. They have to be hemorrhaging money on Game Pass right now.
They don't even care.
They got to be bleeding money right now.
So they don't even care because Azure and their cloud services, like, again, I work in that space. They're getting every large corporation on that right now. Oh. And like literally everybody wants to convert to Microsoft products. So they're probably like, well, let's just eat up our competition in the gaming space because we're making so much in the business sector that we can afford to do it.
I mean, Sony could never dream of buying a studio for $7.5 billion.
No.
They don't have that money. They'd have to liquefy assets like crazy.
I think they could do it, but they could only do it once. Like,
I don't
Microsoft
think they could
do. I think they have like 10 billion on hand or something like that.
Dude,
but again, that's everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where Microsoft's like, yeah, whatever. We got more.
You want a bill? You want an extra bill?
They could do one every year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're scary. They're scary powerful. All right, let's move on. Next topic: BlizzCon 2021 canceled. I don't really know the reason behind this. Did you look into the reason behind it?
I did, and I believe they're citing the usual
COVID.
thing. Yeah, I'll read
Laziness?
this article.
Just kidding.
I'm sorry, I can't cite this article from Engadget. Philip Ferrone, maybe.
Okay.
BlizzCon won't return in 2021. Blizzard said on Wednesday the ongoing realities of the coronavirus pandemic make it too difficult to pull off the type of conventions fans have come to expect from the studio.
Okay.
So
That's probably true for this year.
maybe.
Yeah. To be honest with you, what are they going to show off?
Well, they have a couple things. They have the Diablo 2 remake.
Okay.
They are in the midst of making Diablo 4. But yes, outside of those two Diablo projects, they don't have much. But BlizzCon's a lot more than just announcements.
It's the games,
tournaments,
the culture. Yeah.
It's all that stuff. And I don't think that plays online.
No. So they're probably, that's what I'm saying. They're probably right to, you know what I mean? Because even delaying it this year, it's really just going to make people miss it. You know what I mean? They're going to save the money by not throwing it because they're not going to make anything off of it virtually, probably, at least a fraction of what they would normally make.
Yeah.
So they're probably like, let's just do it next year. We'll just build hype for it next year and we'll have more to show.
Yeah.
Quite frankly.
I think anything that's before September, any in-person stuff's getting canceled, but I think September is going to be the month where we start to go back to in-person conferences.
All right, let's not stick too long with BlizzCon because
I mean they canceled it. Was it 2 years ago where they were in an uproar over the Diablo phones, whatever they did. I forget the name with instead of announcing Diablo 4, they did a Diablo on the phone
and everybody's pissed.
Yeah,
because who cares? I remember when phones were going to replace console gaming. I don't ever think that's happening. All right, so let's go more Battlefield 6 leaks. You showed this to me right before.
Dude, this game has leaked more than anything I've seen in recent memory.
Yeah, and if anybody saw the trailer, it looks like a very difficult video to watch, and probably just a sneak peek. But it looks like more of the same from Battlefield, just big epic battles, large scale, looks really pretty. And I think you were saying, because you saw the trailer better than I did, it looks to be like modern to near future, potentially maybe a little bit further in the future, but kind of modern to near future time scale. What do you think about that?
It looks to be definitely modern to slightly postmodern. I mean, they're still shooting bullets. They're still shooting rockets. The Ospreys, the aircraft that are there are aircraft that are currently in use by the Marine Corps now. It looks exactly like you would expect a Battlefield trailer to look.
Okay.
I mean, Battlefield's done some out there things. I mean, they did that. They did that. They did as a cool. Battlefield. I forget what it was. Hardline. Right.
Yeah, Hardline.
And then they did Battlefield 2142, which was far future with mechs, and that was an amazing game. I think it was very underrated.
It's right up your alley too.
You had your two giant airships that you would launch onto, and then you'd have battles on the airships and battles on the ground. Great game, underrated. Then they do Battlefield World War One, then back to World War Two. And then I think they need to go back to what made Battlefield great. And that was Battlefield 1942 and Battlefield 2. I remember you and I, when we go to the Neshaminy Mall, I forget the name of the...
Cyberzone.
Was it Cyberzone? No. Cyberzone was... No, was it Ultrazone was the laser tag place. But
Ultrazone, yeah.
The video game cafe we would go to in the mall. And
yeah, Cyberzone.
Was it Cyberzone?
Yeah. I was actually just with Chris Alfano tonight, actually. We used to run that place.
Creative names back then. And playing Battlefield 2, land up for hours. And what was great about that game, I was just thinking about this the other day. Battlefield 1942 is how old at this point? Ancient game.
Yeah.
And it did so many things better than modern Battlefields do.
Do you think because it's simpler, because the technology that literally is in the game is just more balanced with the guns and the limitations? Maybe it gets so complicated.
So, for example, like in the modern Battlefield games, I feel like I'm saying Battlefield weird. In the modern Battlefield games, you want a plane, you spawn into a plane. Like you have to like get a token, or
Okay, yeah.
if there's a plane available, you can spawn into it, and
Right,
then
I
you're
remember
flying the
that.
plane. 1942 and Battlefield 2, those things are objects in the world.
Yes.
There are planes on a runway or on an aircraft carrier. As an enemy, opposing team, you could bomb the airfields and just prevent them from ever getting off the ground. You can't do that in these modern games. Um, Torpedo bombers in 1942, I remember you had to fly like perfectly level right over the ocean. You could drop a torpedo, and like these things you don't see in these modern Battlefield games. And I'm not quite sure why this is. You would think when the technology gets better that these things would be more advanced.
Yeah. But it's more about like game design,
I
right? Not
guess
even the
more
tech.
balance.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Well,
they need to go back to that. Something that differentiates them, makes them special. Battle Royale is huge right now. Call of Duty Warzone is very good.
yeah. So
I
do you think Battlefield is going to have a option that's a free to play when it launches, like the online?
maybe. I mean, they messed up with Battlefield 5. They did a Battle Royale mode called Firestorm, which was actually pretty good, but it was pay. You had that Battlefield 5, and
Right.
it came out like 6 months after the game came out.
Yeah.
So again, they screwed up. Um, if they have a free to play, if they do decide to do a battle royale mode, I think it has to be free to play to compete
I
with
think
Warzone.
it'll do like my roommate Sam, right? He plays Warzone. He was playing Apex.
Mhm.
He loves the free to play, and he only plays like the free to play shooters at this point, right? He's a pretty casual gamer,
Right.
but he does play every day with people, with friends from across the country, and he loves Battlefield. So if Battlefield came out with a free to play, he would probably jump because he loves the pacing of Battlefield. He likes a little slower, a little more methodical, right? Which is what
Right.
Battlefield is.
Yes.
So I think it actually could work better than Warzone
Yeah.
for the type of game that it is, like the Battle Royale.
So when you think about it, Battlefield, in my mind, is the pioneer of the battle royale in a way.
Right.
Because they were doing, 50 to 100 person maps forever. I remember
Yes.
playing Battlefield 2 Vietnam, I believe.
Hmm.
With helicopters flying all over the place, and it was they were just missing, I guess, a couple components, but they've been doing this for a while, and I don't know how they're so late to the party with this.
Probably just I mean, it's got to be a leadership thing. Refusal, buy-in.
They don't want to change. Yeah.
Shareholders, but they probably have to now. You look at how much money these free-to-play games make. If you can build in a monetization system, you can make a lot more than charging people 60. And that's a game that'll be on all consoles, right, including PC.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they have an opportunity to steal a chunk of a large profit. So we'll see. All right, let's move on to the next one. I think we talked enough about Battlefield. Nintendo. All right. So
I called this. You said I was crazy.
I did?
Yeah, you wrote it in the doc. You said doubtful.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, yeah, you're right. So I was doubting that they would announce it because of the manufacturing issues.
Okay.
That was my doubt. But I expected a Switch Pro a while ago. I'm just surprised that they're going to release it.
The Switch Pro is one of the worst kept secrets in gaming. I mean, everyone knows it exists,
but I didn't think it'd be ready because I'm like, they're having so much trouble. But again, if I think about what I was saying earlier, Nintendo does not mind that you can't find their console. Like, they don't really care. They're happy with that.
They do it. They're the only ones that sell their consoles at a profit out of all of them.
Also true. So let's just say, do you want to read the article or any segment from the Bloomberg article?
Yeah, I'll just read the intro. This is written by Takasha Mochizuki.
Try your best.
Yeah, sorry about that. Nintendo plans to begin assembly of its new Switch as soon as July and release the upgrade replacement for its 4-year-old game console in September or October. People familiar with the matter said that. The new console will be likely priced higher than the $299 original, maybe announced ahead of the E3 conference starting on June 12th to allow publishers time to showcase their full range of Switch games at the global event. The people said, asking not to be named. It will be sold alongside the $199 Switch Lite. The standard Switch will be phased out over time. So basically, people want to announce their Switch Pro games. They're ready.
Okay.
And they need this announcement before that, or they're not going to be able to show off any of their games.
So that makes more sense to me.
Yeah.
than Sony, or I'm sorry, than Nintendo being in a rush to announce it. Because again, Switches are still selling like crazy. It's not difficult.
You couldn't find them over when the pandemic was in full force.
Yeah, that's why I was doubting it, because I'm like, what is the rush? They have a manufacturing issue, and but I guess the announcement. So do you think because they announced it, it's coming out this year as well? I mean, I think they said October, right?
Yeah, September,
I think
October.
It's
I think it'll be out this year, but how many are out this year? It's going to be a paper launch.
I want one.
Everyone
I can
wants
tell you,
one.
I want one.
It could be like some of the AMD video cards where they were released on a certain day, but you couldn't find anybody on Reddit that had actually gotten their hands on one. It was a paper launch.
And it's rumored to be above $300, right? So it's definitely going to be a Pro.
It'll be $399.
You think it'll be $400? I thought $350.
Depends on what it is. If they can do 4K.
So that's what I was going to ask you. What do you think? Yeah. What do you think the upgrades will be?
Well, the rumors are pretty consistent about an OLED screen, 720p OLED screen. I think you'll see bigger hard drive, obviously. Processor, NVIDIA makes some newer processors. The Switch actually used an older version. I think it's the X1.
Tegra.
The Tegra X1. If I'm not wrong. So they used an older processor at the time when the Switch was even released. So there was a brand new
launching at that time.
There were newer processors at the time from NVIDIA. So whatever the NVIDIA's latest chip is, I think you'll see that if they can get them.
Yeah. Well, that's why I doubted it, because I'm like, really, you're going to start I assume that maybe they've already been manufacturing them. They also have the drift problem with the controllers, right? The Joy-Cons. And mine have a drift issue, and I barely even use mine at this point.
I've actually never had the drift issue.
Really?
Joy-Con, yeah.
It's so annoying.
I think it'll be the exact same size. But it will be all screen.
Yes, less bezel around the outside. I think the Joy-Cons will be slightly different.
I think they'll be exactly the same.
Do you think they're going to keep them off center like that?
Mm-hmm.
That's the one thing I don't like about them.
They will not change anything about the controls or the way it mounts to the controller to keep everything backwards compatible.
I agree with that.
I think you will see changes to the physical body of the Switch, but on the side rails will be the same.
The same. And the dock, it'll probably work with the older dock, but you think they'll release a newer dock as well?
Yeah, they're going to have to for 4K. The original dock doesn't have an HDMI 2.0.
That's a great point.
Yeah, port.
So
I don't think unless I'm mistaken.
No, I don't think it does.
I don't know why it would, because it can only do like 980, 920p or whatever.
Well, honestly, that's kind of what I thought they were going to do, is release a more powerful dock that could upscale, that you could pay. But I don't think they're going to do that at this point. I don't think they really care. I think they want the device itself to be self-sufficient, and the dock itself is just like a cheap complement. Yeah,
I mean, there are benefits to it. That if maybe they put a fan in the dock to keep it running a little cooler, trying to do 4K.
Yeah.
I don't know what you released for this thing, because anything that can run on it's not going to run on the original Switch, at least not well.
Right, and maybe they're okay with that though, because they did that before, right? They've done that so many times.
They had 3DS. They had the new 3DS, which came out, and there was
I had one.
There was a Musou game, I forget, a Musou game. One of those Dynasty Warrior style games that barely ran on the regular 3DS, and the new 3DS was fine, but
yeah. Well, look, I'm excited for it. If I can get one, I will. But I'm really, for me, it's a Zelda machine. Like, I bought Smash Brothers recently. I haven't even played it much. I mean, I played it prior with other people on their console, but I really just play everything for Zelda. Like, and I know the Skyward Sword is coming out. I know rumors of Wind Waker.
Give us Wind Waker,
dude.
Fox.
I completely agree with you. I literally have a Wii U with a Zelda edition just because I'm like, I need Wind Waker.
It's the easiest one to port because it's cartoon graphics. Like, just port the damn game.
Yeah, man. I totally hear you. And for me, Wind Waker is my second favorite. Well, I would say, my second favorite behind Ocarina of Time. And it's the best one that, like, literally it's perfect for on the go also. Like, it's a game, think about what they're doing with Skyward Sword, like all the movement stuff. Like, yeah, I get it. It's cool. But when I play Zelda, I don't want to move my arms for them. I know they're doing both versions now, but like, you're playing this game for like 200 hours. I don't want to be doing this for 200 hours. Like it doesn't make sense. Wind Waker is such a well-designed game where they can take the Wii U version, they can make it a little bit better, right? They can fix a little bit things for it. They can upscale it a little bit more. It would be such a perfect release. So, but I don't think they're going to release it at the same time. What are they going to do? Skyward Sword, Breath of the Wild 2, and then Wind Waker all in the same year?
If they like money.
But don't you think they'd want to kind of spread it out a little bit?
Yes, but they haven't released one in the 4 years they've had the Switch. I mean, they've had 4 years.
Just Breath of the Wild.
They haven't even put Ocarina of Time on this thing.
Well, no, they did release what's it called? Not a Link Between
Link's Awakening.
Link's Awakening.
Yeah, they remade that game though. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah,
but that was a remake.
Job with that. Yes.
That wasn't a port. Like they haven't ported any of their old games.
That's a great point, and both of these will be ports. They're not going to be remakes.
Right. The first one that they're actually porting is Skyward Sword.
Yes. I'm buying Skyward Sword, but to be honest with you, I'm not thinking like, oh, I really want to get back into Skyward Sword because that game, in my opinion, it's not the best Zelda game.
It's fine. Yeah.
It's fine. Like I'd rather play Breath of the Wild, to be honest with you, over Skyward Sword, where Wind Waker is just completely different element and just a much better game all around. All right. Let's move on from Nintendo. We got Xbox. Not playing, only playing PC. Anything you want to mention about Xbox? I mean, my buddy has one. I played his Xbox a little bit, but to be honest with you, like as a PC gamer, I really see no benefit to buying an Xbox at this point, unless you don't have a gaming PC.
Well, I mean, you cannot buy a gaming PC with the specs of an Xbox Series X for $500 right now.
True.
So
you got to pay $1,000 for the video card.
Right. So yes, I do see a benefit to having a Series X. There's many benefits, but
it's a great package.
Right. And there are other options. So the storage that Xbox and PlayStation both use, PC is getting similar technology with direct storage. I'm sorry, I forget the name, but it basically allows the GPU to directly access the hard drive instead of going through the normal CPU channels. So that's what they're doing with the Xbox and PlayStation to make these load times so fast with these SSDs, and that will be coming to PC. But as it is right now, load times are insane on these consoles. But mostly, just price. You can't beat the value right now. If you can find a Series X,
you can find one. Yeah,
you can play. You get ray tracing. You get 4K.
Yeah, and the S model is available as well, and that's even cheaper if you can find one of those.
It's a Game Pass machine. Yeah, I've seen a couple of them in the wild.
Yeah, I personally don't. I was saying this to you when they were coming out. I personally don't see those things lasting very long.
Yeah, I remember when it came out, you didn't think that there was a point to it, and I agree.
I still don't think there is.
It was to get a console out at $200 or $300. How much it was?
Yeah, 300. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like you're getting a much better console for $200 more. I get it's a lot of money for people, but if you're already investing that much in a console and you're going to have this thing for theoretically 8 years, what's $200 over 8 years? It's like a lot of people did. But I get it. I mean, it's one of those things where Microsoft can just be aggressive.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, their business model is Game Pass. It is not consoles.
Yeah.
I don't even know how many of these things are making, but they don't care what you're playing on, whether it's phone, PC, or Xbox. As long as you're subscribed to Game Pass, that's all they give a shit about.
Yeah. All right, let's take a quick break here.
All
right. So let's go to our next segment here. We'll get past the Xbox stuff. And we'll roll into what
the Xbox stuff.
Yeah. And we'll get into what are we playing. Let's start with the first one. Since we're both playing it, Mass Effect Legendary Edition. We're both starting obviously on the first one. Yep. Why don't you start off with your thoughts? I'll fill in mine afterwards.
So I'm only a couple hours in. My gaming time has been drastically diminished as of late. I have a newborn.
Yes.
But managed to get into Mass Effect time. It looks like I remember it looking, which means that it must have looked like shit when it first came out, because it looks good.
Yes.
I've looked at some comparison shots, the lighting, particle effects, they look great.
Yeah, visually.
The one
for sure.
the one thing that definitely I ran into was the field of view.
Mhm.
It was tight in there.
Very.
I had to mod the game right away. Um, Aiming down the sights seemed like I was looking at a tiny little circle on the screen. I would assume they did that to save rendering resources maybe back in the day, because it is a massive game. It was a massive game. I had forgotten how detailed the conversations were and how long
Oh
a
my
single
God.
conversation tree can go. Not that I'm adverse to it, but man, the amount of questions you can ask a single character who's just
I'm
like
glad you
cleaning the
brought that up.
floors,
Yeah.
it's insane. And they really they really did a number in this first game. And I don't remember a lot about Mass Effect 1. It's
Oh,
probably
okay.
of the three the least memorable to me, probably because I was younger. But 2 and 3 are fresher in my mind because of the groundwork that was laid by Mass Effect 1. But you can see what they were trying to do.
Yes.
And I cannot imagine a game like this being made in any expedient amount of time
No.
nowadays. Yeah, so first thoughts, looks great. Looks like I remember. Had to have looked like shit before. Field of view, trash. And this I'm playing this game, and some random forklift operator falls asleep behind a crate, right, and says that he saw some guy shoot somebody in the back of the head, and all of a sudden everyone believes him. The shepherd's ready to shoot up the council, saying yo, this forklift operator told me he saw this guy get assassinated by this other guy, so I'm ready to throw down. No corroborating evidence. That's what stood out to me. I have my notes around here somewhere, but I'd forgotten about that aspect of it. I thought that they saw him getting Sarah shooting this guy, but no. Some dudes, some dock
Well,
worker saw it.
that's so funny. It's like an episode of CSI or whatever. You know what I mean?
I saw him do it.
Yeah, exactly. I saw that he's still doing his job at the time. John Mulaney.
Yeah, they're doing a
it.
walk and talk.
Yeah, walk and talk. So, actually, I agree with so let's make it clear we're both playing this on PC as well.
Mm-hmm.
Neither one of us played it on a console. I didn't buy it for PS5 on your recommendation, and obviously because of the frame rate, which is funny because I didn't even care at first.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say shooters for sure I prefer on PC. So just mouse and keyboard just so much easier with a shooter, even a third person shooter.
How the mouse controls feel to you?
They feel good.
Feel off?
Yeah, I mean, I will say there's issues with the cover system, which I expected. The game feels dated to me playing it. The pacing of the game, I'm the dialogue you mentioned, I'm the dialogue is exceptional, actually. It's so well written.
It is.
But at the same time, I find myself, and I remember a lot more of the game than I thought, to be honest with you. I'm remembering certain characters, certain scenes, and I'm oh, wow, I remember this. I'm starting to remember who I need to talk to. I can't believe I remember some of this stuff.
Right.
But I find myself kind of going a lot faster through the dialogue than I normally would. Back in the day, I really took my time with the dialoge, and now I'm kind of I got 3 games to get through.
Ashley's saying some racist shit. We can just skip through what she's saying. She's so racist.
Yeah, well, I think that's kind of the point, though.
Yeah, she's supposed to be xenophobic.
Yeah. So I'll be honest with you, I didn't do the field of view modifier. I'm hoping it gets patched, but maybe I'll have to do it because it definitely needs it.
It's easy to use.
Okay, yeah, send it to me. I'll probably apply it because it does need it.
Yeah.
It does need a patch of some sort. I would say I had some glitches, but not many. Honestly, the game runs pretty nicely. There's little things that drive me nuts though, you're running around in the world and you can only use your speed burst for a short period of time.
I was
and it's these are
that out.
Okay, yeah, because it's really that's quality of life stuff that you don't see that in games today because you're kind of wasting my time.
I wonder if it was put in place originally to prevent, because they had to load the game.
Speed rushing.
Yeah, they had to keep the game in memory back then, so they didn't want you to run. That's why the elevators were so long in the old games, because they had to load the maps. but the elevator rides in Legendary Edition are like 2 seconds.
Yeah, man. I will say though, it does remind me like if I had a larger itch right now, I feel like I am a little distracted by other things that are coming out soon. But I will say, as far as an RPG, like it does nail that feeling of an RPG, and I'm pretty excited like to get into two.
Good.
Because I really want to replay that because two is obviously a better game. But the story of one is so good.
Right.
The story alone is so good, and at least it's been so long that there's a lot of surprises still left in there.
No.
But I will say I am finding myself struggling to care about going through the dialogue like I used to. I'm definitely finding myself rushing through, but the gameplay is still good enough where I'm enjoying it. I'm feeding for more action, but even like the inventory system, there's like little things where I'm like, oh, like I got to do this.
Only for this game.
Yeah.
The next two, they fixed that. But.
Right. But it's good. I'm honestly, I kind of, in the back of my mind, I kind of wish I even waited to buy it now. I was kind of like, it's going to drop in price considerably.
Yeah.
I bought it for day one. I'm like, it's good. It's good though. And at the time, let's make it clear, it was one of my favorite games like ever. Like I loved Mass Effect, just like you did. Yep. It's incredible.
Coming off of KOTOR, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. And KOTOR, first of all, I loved KOTOR more, to be honest with you, just because, I don't know, maybe because it was Star Wars, but to make that universe from scratch in Mass Effect, that was truly impressive. And I think they invested so much in this game because the next Mass Effect, that they're really praying that it's not Andromeda, right? Because Andromeda is not Mass Effect. It's a Mass Effect skin over an action RPG. I did.
Shooting is great.
Yeah, the gameplay was actually great. Right. I'm like, oh, this game is it's pretty good. It's just not a Mass Effect game.
Shooting felt great.
Yeah.
Gameplay felt great. It was just
it felt like FIFA.
It felt like a half-baked. It felt like a half-made game.
Like, yeah, because the story and all that didn't matter to me. Like none of that stuff.
A lot of it didn't make sense.
Yeah, it was kind of useless. But the engine itself, I didn't mind. I actually really enjoyed the shooting mechanics and all that. Yeah. So it makes me excited to go to the next ones. I still have to go deeper. Like I just got Garrus, I was telling you, and that was like an exciting. See, I loved Garrus. But I am kind of like, do I really care about these relationships as much as I used to? Having said that, I'm going to roll through it. And now there's actually more purpose, right? Like they're going to go into the second and the third seamlessly. Yep. So, I really need to push a little bit more into it. But I like it. I mean, I love it, to be honest with you. But it's like no surprise. But it does make me realize like why a remaster or a remake is better for me than a remaster. And I'll talk about Final Fantasy. But the remakes to me are becoming more enticing, to be honest with you, like just because of the quality of life stuff, and not every game is designed like that well from years ago that it holds up today.
Sure. We're now getting to the point in our lives where games that we loved in the 3D era are old enough to be remade now.
Yeah.
So Mass Effect 1 it's mostly a remaster. There is some remake stuff. The UI has been changed. Some quality of life stuff with the Mako have been changed. A lot of I think some of the inventory stuff's been streamlined.
Mm-hmm.
They got a photo mode. But
cover system is wonky.
A lot of the controls are wonky. I don't think you know if you remember, but the Mass Effect 1 PC port was fucked. It was just not a good port. 2 and 3 were good.
Yeah.
But weird things like Mass Effect 3 had no controller support at launch.
Oh yeah.
But it launched on consoles. They've always done some weird stuff, but the Mass Effect 1 on PC was never good. So I don't think they were working off that great of a code base to begin with. I played it on Xbox. This is my first time playing Mass Effect 1 on PC, and I know I played Mass Effect 1. I remember the game. I only played through it once. And I've kind of avoided podcasts and media talking about it because it's been so long that I know there's gonna be stuff that I remember get
triggered.
Yeah, like there's some movies and TV shows that I wish I could get like hit in the head with a pipe and forget and watch over again.
BioShock,
Breaking Bad.
I wish I could play BioShock for the first time again.
Right, and so I'm getting some of that, but I'm remembering more than I had liked.
Yeah,
I'm definitely killing Ashley this time now.
What a bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I will say it's worth buying if I will say if you've never played Mass Effect, it's definitely worth buying. Like
I think it's worth
100%.
buying no matter how much gameplay you're going to get from this. This is
Yes.
over 100 hours of game. Easy.
Yes, because each game was like 50 hours of story,
Yeah.
deep story.
Hundreds of different DLCs, Mass Effect 2 DLC, entire characters that,
Do you think they'll do this with KOTOR 1 and 2?
well, they're the remakes. I don't think so because Aspire is remaking KOTOR right now.
Right.
I don't think.
Well, I
we're
guess
gonna
if
see
they
anything.
remake it, they'll probably just take their time.
Yeah, Aspire's is doing a remake, so I don't think they'll put out a remaster.
Well, we'll see how that one goes, because I don't know. But I like KOTOR, I'd be all in. Even though the gameplay, actually, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, to Mass Effect's credit, the gameplay is better than KOTOR 1.
Well, KOTOR 1 was
It's like an odd
it was very
action.
it's turn-based, real time. Pause the game, but you can pause Mass Effect 1. You see the holdovers from the 2
Yes.
because you can pause Mass Effect and issue orders.
I actually think Jade Empire's gameplay probably holds up better than both of them at this point.
I haven't played it in recent memories.
I actually did.
Did you?
I played it on PC not too long ago. It's still good.
I have it in my Origin library.
That's a game they definitely should remaster. That game did not get enough love because it was just so weird. But that's a great game.
It was different from other stuff they had done.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about what else we're playing. Do you want to go into your next game?
Sure. So I've been playing this for a while, but you hadn't heard of this. It's a game called Dyson Sphere Project. So trying to describe Dyson Sphere Project to you. It's a Chinese game. Let me get the developer.
Dude, China's killing it with the games. We gotta be scared. They're taking over.
Their gaming market is great right now. It's it's a 5-man team by Youth Cat Studios, the Chinese developer. 5 people made this game.
Yeah, they're probably rich now.
Oh, they are. It's let's see, they've sold their first week of sales. They sold 350,000 copies.
Damn.
So I don't know what the updated stats are, but
10 out of 10 on Steam. Which is crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing. So
$20.
There's a game called, I think it's called Planetary Annihilation. Back in the day, where Planetary Annihilation, where it's basically a real-time strategy that takes place on a planet that's very small because you can walk your guy around it and you're building different things all over it. And it's a mix between that and like a factory game like Satisfactory or Factorio, where you're building buildings to mine resources and then feed those resources into an assembler that assembles it into another thing that assembles this into another thing. And the ultimate goal is to do research, but really is to build a Dyson sphere around the star in your planet, which is a structure around the star to generate power.
They're kind of like Halo, like the Halo and Halo.
Similar to a Halo. So a Dyson sphere is my first interaction with it was in a Star Trek episode.
Okay.
But it's basically a theoretical structure that could be built around the stars, and the inside of it would generate infinite power.
Oh, cool.
So I think that's where they got this from. And you start out on a planet, and there's four planets in a solar system. And you can eventually fly to other solar systems with warp drives, and you can set up logistics systems where one planet is automatically shipping resources to another planet that's shipping resources to another star that's doing this and that. And they release patches weekly. They've already released tons of features. The game is highly moddable. Somebody said on the subreddit that they were going to make a blueprint mod where you could highlight like a dozen buildings, so you don't have to build them over and over again, and save that blueprint so you can like copy and paste. And the developers like, we'll make that, and they just put it in the game the next week. So they're listening to their community, they're patching the game, they're releasing new features almost every other week, and they're going to be adding combat, I don't know if it's going to be full on combat, but they're going to release some sort of combat mechanics in the game. I've got 200 hours in it. It's Let me check my exact stats.
I'm not even surprised.
I have 358 hours in the game.
It's way over 200, Ben.
Yes, that is a greater number than 200.
Oh man.
Yeah, so this is, I'm going to share this with you, so just so you can see it. But that's my Dyson sphere in progress around that O-type star.
I have to open it up here.
Oh, all right.
Give me a second. Here we go. Oh wow, look at that thing.
So that's me while I'm building one of my Dyson spheres around that star. It's a great game. It's addictive, obviously.
Here, let me do a quick screen share. Maybe I'll probably end up breaking our stream. Let me not do that because I don't want to break anything.
Yeah, don't do it.
But that's pretty cool. Yeah, this looks right up your alley, man.
It's great. It's Kerbal Space Program, Satisfactory.
On steroids. Yeah.
And now this. They're if you like Kerbal Space Program.
Oh, they made Kerbal?
No. But those are games that I've these games that don't really have a point that I've put like hundreds of hours. It's also a type of game that when I used to work overnights, I was able to play.
Yes. Yeah, because it's kind of those you got to wait for resources. You can kind of check on.
You could set if you really wanted to just go to sleep and let it run. You could wake up to thousands of whatever you were making and make your life easier. But
all right, well, we'll get an update on that one probably as you go along.
Yeah, they released a roadmap. The roadmap May. They're going to be putting all kinds of new features. That they're putting an entire galaxy instead of just a couple of solar systems. That's
dope. It's probably because they're selling a lot and they just have a bigger budget than they initially anticipated.
Oh yeah, they got buku bucks.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool, nice hidden gem for those who have not heard of that game. Hopefully check it out.
And it's not expensive.
Yeah, $20.
$20
on Steam. And I'm sure.
Oh my God, is that worth it?
Yeah, I mean, for the amount of hours you put in, you figure you'll probably find it on a Steam sale at some point. Probably get it even cheaper.
Yeah.
Maybe
I would just buy it. Give them the money; they deserve it.
Yeah, that's actually a great point. A smaller studio, 5 people, and you look, you're buying it and they're investing it into the game.
They're going right back in. They probably made millions at this point. They don't need your $20. They don't need to keep making the game better, but they are.
Just love it. It's a passion project, obviously. All right, so with me, what I'm playing right now, I'm kind of jumping around. Obviously, I was playing Mass Effect, but I was playing Age of Empires 3 Definitive Edition. I love that game. I love Age of Empires. I put a bunch of hours into the entire campaign, all of them, and I've been replaying them. The USA campaign came out, but I haven't actually played it yet. I do want to get into that, but really it's kind of like we were talking about E3 earlier, like Age of Empires 4 is something I'm kind of dying for. I
saw the trailer they put out recently.
Yeah, I love Age of Empires. I bought the Command and Conquer remastered. I was thinking about buying Iron Harvest. I didn't end up buying it, but I still might buy it because it's cheap.
Heard good things.
Yeah, but it's just more of a mech, like kind of action game. I like more of the base building stuff. And Age of Empires is a really good balance of both. And I'm just super excited. Age of Empires 3 Definitive Edition is awesome. It's really, really awesome. So I recommend playing that. And then Age of Empires 4, I'll probably get that at day one when they finally release it. And hopefully it's this year, but I have a feeling it probably won't be. But I know that it'll be at E3. So that's probably part of that Microsoft conference we were talking about. Yep. That is probably going to be one of their biggest showings. And that's a game that they've been doing these definitive editions leading up to this big release of Age of Empires 4. So I think it's going to be a pretty good, I think it's going to be a really awesome game. So that's one I'm looking forward to. So Age of Empires 3 has been awesome. And like I said, I was playing Mass Effect. I have in more games, but you want to go to your next game, Ben?
Subnautica Below Zero. Subnautica is another game that I played a lot of. The original hours. Yeah, the original Subnautica, but 94 hours into Subnautica. So for those that are not aware, Subnautica is I guess the closest analog to everyone would understand is it's a Minecraft type game where it's an open world survival game. The conceit of it is you're on the ship that crashes into a planet that's majority ocean. You're building a habitats, you're collecting resources, you're harvesting, the plant life, the animal life on the planet and creating other things. You can build submarines, you can build all kinds of tools to help you survive. And there is a story in the game where there's an ancient civilization that came to this planet to try and find a cure for a disease that was ravishing the entire galaxy and blah blah blah. And the story is unraveling, but you really got to look for it. So you could play a lot of that game, build massive bases, collect tons of stuff, hundreds of hours, and never really involve yourself in the story. You come across PDAs, iPads, and they tell the story, and you kind of pick up clues on where to go. And the more you explore, because you want more resources and you want more things, you come across this ancient civilization, this ancient stuff.
Cool.
And the story evolves, and there isn't, you can't beat it. There is an ending. I have beat it. It takes a long time to do. And, but it doesn't hold your hand. You got to look for the story if you want it.
Okay.
Subnautica Below Zero is a sequel to that game. It does take place afterwards, and it is the opposite of that with the story. So I've only got a couple hours into it so far, but it is leading me around. It is telling me to go to this point.
Do you like that about it, or?
So yes and no. All the open world stuff I loved about Subnautica is still there. You don't need to do any of this stuff. But the original Subnautica, you crash on this planet, and in the distance you see your spaceship in the ocean, and you'd be like, I bet I could swim there. Yeah. And you can, but it doesn't tell you go to the ship. Right. Just eventually you have to make your way there to get some stuff. Yeah. In this, if Subnautica was Subnautica Below Zero, the game would be like, you should probably check out this ship over here. Right. And it would put a waypoint on your screen. I don't know what the metrics are, but I would assume a lot of people did not finish Subnautica, and they want to make it more accessible. They want to make it more accessible, and that's fine. The story so far is very good. Your main protagonist's sister is reported to be killed on this planet that the original Subnautica took place on. You go there to try and find out exactly what happened. It's good so far. I'm still early on, couple hours. A lot of the same concepts I remember from Subnautica carry over at this point. The same method of making water, the same method of making food, of diving deep and staying underwater longer are there. But you can tell how they changed the game to make it easier. So in the original Subnautica, you would see something flashing under the water, and you'd look at your oxygen and you'd be like, maybe I can make it. And you try and you can't make it. You're fucked. You're dead. I've died many times in Subnautica. In this one, I see a room I think they want me to go to, and there's a bunch of little oxygen plants along the way. So there's a path I can take that I will never run out of oxygen.
That kind of sucks.
So yes, it does in some aspects. I haven't died in Below Zero yet, and I've been pretty reckless, but I'm early. These games usually like 100 hours in Subnautica. We'll see how it goes, but I like where it's going. The story is interesting. It's got me hooked. I anticipate this being a shorter game, a lot more on land than in Subnautica 1. A lot more out of the water stuff. But
we'll have to check in on that one. It's interesting because I think you're right that it seems like a game that maybe wasn't that approachable. So they were like, let's see if we can sell more copies if we make it a little more approachable. A little more story driven, a little more hand holdy.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil the ending of Subnautica, but there is an ending to it, and I don't know how many people actually know that and saw the ending, and I don't know what percentage of players think
probably not much.
It was just a submarine game where you build a submarine and fly.
Yeah. So that's interesting. All right, for me, so I am in a kind of like in a stagnant point because I play NHL regularly, but I have to say that game has bored the hell out of me. They did announce that they're moving on from the current engine finally after like a decade already, and they're moving on to the the Frostbite engine for the one that FIFA uses. So I'm
Everyone's
thoroughly
on
looking,
Frostbite.
So I'm thoroughly looking forward to that, even though it's going to be missing a bunch of features. But I just need a spark. But right now, my next game that I will be playing, and we won't get to it for next week's episode because it's not going to be out yet. But Final Fantasy VII Intrograde is coming out. I fucking loved Final Fantasy VII Remake. Like I'll be honest with you, I loved that game so much, and I enjoyed Final Fantasy VII. I think that this game blew me out of the water because I was like, this is the Final Fantasy game I've always wanted. I know they're making a Souls game, which I'm going to be excited, and I'm going to try that, and I'm excited for 16. But a lot of the other Final Fantasy games have kind of let me down. I thought a lot of them have been boring kind of over there. The pacing has been boring. The story's been drawn out. The writing is just so... I don't want to say Japanese because I don't really think that's very fair. It's just so dry.
You can say that. I think they have a certain style in their storytelling in Japanese games.
Well, they have a new creative director on Final Fantasy VII, and man, the writing was so good, Ben. Like I mean this honestly. Like I played this game, I was blown away by how good this game is. So I loved it. I squeezed every inch out of that game. And now that they're going to release it with additional content, and they're going to, they're kind of upping the graphics and everything, I've been purposefully holding back playing it again, waiting for this. So we're, it's May 27th, so June 10th it comes out. That'll probably pull me away from Mass Effect, but I am definitely going right back into that game. And I'm going to 100% it, because I just love it. So that's going to be my next one.
Sure, that would be out for PC by now, and it's not.
It has to do something with the exclusive deal that they're doing.
It's been over a year. I don't know what they did.
It has to do with this Yuffie DLC, probably, right?
Sure.
That they don't want people to play, or maybe they think people will like pirate it and stuff. Maybe
when it was first announced, they were being very coy about the exclusivity. They wouldn't say it's a PS4 exclusive forever. They wouldn't say anything about that. And usually these exclusives are a year or 2 years, but
it's coming to PC.
There's been no signs that it's been coming to PC.
Well,
at least not recently.
I think they hinted at it, but if you end up getting a PS5 for any type of reason, man, this game is so good. I truly love it. After that, my plan is to play Resident Evil 8. That looks freaking amazing to me. I didn't play 7, even though I played pretty much every previous one before that, or at least the modern ones. I was hoping for the remake of 4, and from what I understand, that RE8 is very, has a lot of the undertones of 4. So that's going to be my next thing to dive into. So I'm going to do Final Fantasy Intrograde. I'm going to keep playing Mass Effect in the background, but Final Fantasy, definitely that's going to steal a bunch of my time. Going to go hard into that. And then when I'm done that, RE8, which I believe is a pretty short game, so I'll be able to finish that one in 15 hours or so.
Are you surprised that they haven't revealed the part 2 of Final Fantasy VII Remake yet?
No,
you don't.
Off of Square Enix. Yeah. No, because I think they want to still put. I think this game shocked them by how well it did. I don't think they expected it.
People have been asking for this for 40 years.
But I don't think they expected the game to be as good as it is.
Well,
literally, Ben, I'm telling you, man. I played this game, I was blown away. Cloud, I'm like, this is the way I was hoping Cloud would be. He was so cool. I loved being him. The girls, literally, they wanted you to fall in love with the girls. And I don't normally care about characters like this. And I'm like, yeah, all of these characters I care about immensely. The writing was so good. I was shocked because usually, Final Fantasy, I kind of, trudge through the writing just to, to have the mechanics of the RPG gameplay. Right. But really, it was the best game that I played in a while. I was speaking so highly of it. The mechanics alone were phenomenal. I almost wish that there was more. I beat it and I was like, I wish there was more of this. So I've been really, really looking forward to this. I don't know if I'll love the Yuffie DLC as much as the Final Fantasy VII game itself, but I'm in. That gameplay, and it makes me super excited for Final Fantasy 16 because I was kind of falling out of love with Final Fantasy, to be honest with you. Kingdom Hearts 3, my God.
I only ever played one Final Fantasy. I think I played Final Fantasy 9.
I've never played that one, actually. That's the one that I wanted to go back and play.
Maybe middle school.
Wait, you never played 7 back in the day? Okay, 7 was really cool. I honestly, Ben, I have zero doubt in my mind that you will like Final Fantasy VII Remake.
I'm sure I'd like the remake. I don't know if I could go back and play the original, but remake, I think you're right. I'll give it a try one day.
Yeah, no, I probably when it comes to PC, inevitably, or if you get a PS5.
I'm not adverse to playing it on consoles. It's not a game I'd buy a console for. Last of Us 2 is a game I'd buy a console for.
Right. And I would say, and obviously you can even see the water ripples. They're running off 60 frames. Like I can see the difference already. We were talking about it earlier. Like the water did not move like that in the menu. Prior to that, it was like, kind of a slower trudge.
Oh, the new patch you're talking about for
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I can only imagine how Final Fantasy VII Remake is going to look. So like I'm super, super, super pumped for that game. Like obviously you can see, but I truly believe, Ben, that will be the Final Fantasy game. You're like, oh, that's not Final Fantasy though. Like if you play Final Fantasy VII Remake and you expect the other Final Fantasy games to be that way,
well, I remember,
you're not getting that.
I remember my 4 discs for the original PlayStation.
They're a slow trudge. There's stuff that you can cut out of those games easily. And again, this is the same guy who did Kingdom Hearts. I think it's Nomura. And you can see the Kingdom Hearts element in it, but it's so far above and beyond Kingdom Hearts writing. Yeah. It's like Kingdom Hearts is a child's game to me. Like this is where Final Fantasy needs to be and where it needs to go, and it makes me excited for 16. So 16,
yeah, I think we'll see more of that at E3 for sure.
Yeah, that's one that I'm again, after seeing what they did with 7 Remake, I'm like, my expectations are really high for Final
15. And 15 was well received. It just it wasn't. I don't think it was as good as
I played it. I couldn't finish it. The pacing so bad, like so bad, Ben. Like you're talking about these slow drives from town to town. You're talking about these mechanics, which just like you're just wasting my goddamn time. Like it's not fun. Really, the best open world game that I've played recently has been God of War. And that's not even really open world.
Exactly. Open world.
I don't even like open world. Like get rid of it. Like even Breath of the Wild. Like
be crazy. You've been on this too long.
Yeah. Well, Breath of the Wild 2.
That's open world.
Yeah, but I hope they actually go back. I hope they close off that world a little bit, just a little bit. I like the idea you can go anywhere, but at the same time, building those barriers are what makes it exciting. Like seeing your ship, like what you were talking about Subnautica, like seeing your ship in the distance and not being able to get to it. That's what I loved about Ocarina of Time. When I was playing it as a kid, is you see the mountain and you see things. You're like, how do I get to it? And you can't. But then later you're like, oh my god, I got the gloves that allowed me to lift the boulder out of the way. Like,
wouldn't it be great if you saw that mountain and you could just go?
No, see, that's what I'm saying, because it removes the narrative. Because if good narrative is more linear, the same reason why BioShock, it was a more narrative or linear game. That's how you tell a great story. When you have these open world games, you miss a lot of the narrative, a lot of the pacing.
Yeah, they're different styles of games. You can still do narrative with open world. It's just you have to adjust your game design accordingly. It's not going to be.
But name a open world game that's fully open world and has like an incredible story. They're very rare.
GTA 5 had a pretty good story.
Yeah, actually to your point. Red Dead
as fuck.
Red Dead Redemption is one of my favorite games I've ever played.
You can do it.
Red Dead 2.
It's just you need to adjust your game design to be very specific with your story beats, and then the rest of the open world is side content.
And that's what Red Dead Redemption 2 did. And that game story was phenomenal. And you did not have to go to the other towns at all. Or you could essentially cut out majority of that game, and you were playing a linear experience. But that game was a trudge also, even though I loved it. But it was a trudge, And the way they handled that is that they moved your town, right? You moved like your center from different places. So it made it, well, it stopped you from kind of like running from the same place. So it's like, that's what I was saying. It's like they have to find a way to make the open world less open worldy. Does that make sense? All right. We're at 2 hours, dude.
Yeah. We should probably wrap it.
Yeah, we were planning on doing probably a little less than 2 hours, but looks like this is a 2-hour show. Yep. This was a fun first episode, though.
This was a good test episode.
Yeah, this was great. And next episode, we're going to go into the E3 stuff. We'll come up with predictions. I'm sure we'll have plenty of topics. We'll talk about Far Cry 6.
Yep. There's a gameplay reveal tomorrow for Far Cry 6.
Yep. Maybe we'll talk about Biomutant. I'm not going to play it, though, from what I saw.
I'll try to play it. I want to play some Days Gone.
Okay.
On the PC.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, and I can talk about Days Gone too because I actually really enjoyed it on the console, and I played it obviously on PS5 with the upscaling and all the beautiful patches. And then we'll talk about some VR stuff too.
Yep.
Yeah, plenty to talk about. We'll talk about Uncharted movie and other stuff that we didn't get to go over today. So thank you everybody for listening. If anybody does listen to this now, we have no audience as we're recording this. So hopefully we do. I mean, we're going to be doing some new stuff, and eventually we'll have guests on. Like, we have stuff planned, stuff in mind that we'll do, but we're going to keep it simple. Mostly it's going to be Ben and I just talking about games we love. If anybody does watch this, leave stuff in the comments, and we will definitely check out comments. If you have requests or anything like that for us to talk about, we'll try to incorporate that in the show. Ben, anything you want to tell people, like sign off on?
No, this is a good first episode. I'm glad you talked me into it.
Yeah.
We've been talking about doing this for years, and we're always open to criticism and suggestions. So
yeah,
drop us a line. Let us know.
The internet is full of criticism.
I'm sure they'll be very kind to us.
Yeah. The internet is very known for being very kind and subtle. No, but realistically, I mean, running my hockey podcast, people do give, even if they're not like kind comments, if people are engaged, it's always the best. So definitely leave some comments. All right, Ben. Thank you, my friend. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Make sure to like, subscribe. It definitely will help us quite a bit. We probably have very little subscribers at the time that you're watching this, but we will keep going. We do know how to build this out. We do know how to grow it, but it will take time. Eventually, like I said, we'll have guests, we'll have other stuff. You'll see stuff change. You'll see the quality improve. You'll see music add-ins, and we're going to work with software and stuff like that to make stuff a little more interesting while you're watching as well. So thank you for everybody. Like, subscribe, and remember to always play on gamers.